All right, what's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Rosa Vasquez, and this is another episode of season two of the ACG Show and Tell Social Mixer. And as you can see, we're doing this for the first time via Zoom. So those of you who are going to be watching after on Instagram TV, also on Facebook and YouTube, you get to leave comments there and ask questions. And also, if you're interested in collaborating with our guests, so I'm going to introduce him formally. So we have Rudy Blanco from the Bronx. He's the founder and CEO of the Bronx Gaming Network, aka BGN, and director of entrepreneurship and gaming at the DreamYard project. How are you, Rudy?
I am well. I am well. Thank you so much, Rosa, for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you. It was so great to connect before COVID. And I know also before that, we had a few things going on with DreamYard and also the Bronx Gaming Network as well. So during that whole process of COVID, I saw you was busy. You were growing the Bronx Gaming Network. So tell us a little bit more about Bronx Gaming Network.
Yeah, let's honestly, right now as it stands, our slogan is we guide gamers and creatives to and through their careers. And that's a big, mission, and it's a big deliverable, right? And the idea here is that gaming begins at such an early age, right? So people engage with gaming and online content in a way that they don't have the I guess the inspiration and the motivation and the support from the adults around them to kind of entertain whatever it is that they're excited about or whatever's
Hmm.
trending, in that particular period. So when COVID happened, I'm a person. I worked out in the field. I was out constantly running workshops, teaching classes, and when COVID happened, we shut down, and not working with people hit me hard.
Hmm.
So I turned to Twitch. I turned on my Switch and started streaming Mario 3. And I realized that in learning how to stream, right, it's YouTube. Everybody does it, right? Like
Yeah.
how to become a streamer, right? Like how to do this and how to do that. And along the way, it was really, really hard to find like people of color,
Hmm.
or LGBTQIA plus, identifying individuals. And it just got really tiring. And I was like, oh my God, this is so expensive. And it turns out the whole time I could have just been doing it with my PlayStation, no camera, like low stakes, and people still showed up. And I feel that we were bamboozled, and that a lot of us want to do this. So BGN came out of the need to have representation in in the way in the content we consume, but also in our journey to become content creators and become people who produce in this age. And I know that was long-winded, Rosa, but you already know me.
Yes, yes. No, all that is perfect because it goes right into like that topic of representation in gaming, especially bringing that mission and vision of BGN with the careers in gaming. So us as educators, we saw that in our, young students. We saw that they were into gaming, they play gaming, and then we had parents saying, "Oh, our children are gaming constantly. What are they gonna do with their future?" But you, along with other educators saw something big from this, and especially coming from the Bronx, we see that we need to see people that look like us, that
Facts.
understand our, background, where we're from, that cultural creation that we can make from it. So tell us more about, the idea of representation and the idea of where it comes from with gaming and the careers in gaming.
Yeah, and so for me, I think I'm gonna flash back a little bit. I was born in Dominican Republic, right? I came here when I was like 4 years old, and I grew up my early years in Queens, and then my family kind of broke off into the Bronx. So we were living between Bronx and Queens. And what happens is that the whole time, first of all, trying to understand what it was like being an LGBT dude, like a gay man, like or a gay young person at the time. I didn't even know if, like what was going on in the world around me because we didn't have the internet the way we had today, right? Let alone online gaming. But what ended up happening is that I needed to find community, and everyone, we're social beings. We need to find
Yes.
community. And I couldn't, for me, it was the library, believe it
Mm.
or not, right? Like I was always chilling at the library because they always had some cute little program that I could get down with, and
Yeah.
sign it up. And
We used to do that too growing up. Back then it
yeah,
was so new, like there really wasn't much. So now they have so much
yeah.
technology. Back then it was probably like a few little hand. bit of computers and we had to just wait around to like get on there and just teach ourselves.
Absolutely. Like, and just the need to be seen, you know, like I always wanted to be an actor. That was my thing, right? Like I wanted to
Hmm.
be on stage. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be on film. And as a kid, you know, like, and this was also in the 90s, early 2000s, where like, you know, like media wasn't as intense as it is now. And, you know, social media wasn't even quite born yet because that didn't happen until I got to college, right? But what ended up happening is that when I got to college, I went to this small school in Norton, Massachusetts, Wheaton College. And I got there by the grace of God, I tell you, Russell, to be honest with you, like I was undocumented, like things were not aligned for me. My biggest dream was to be the manager at a supermarket, you know, down the block where I grew up, because that's where I started packing bags when I was 13. And
Hmm.
I found out about the Posse Foundation. I don't know if you're familiar. Posse is an organization. They provide scholarships to groups of 10 in
Hmm.
urban areas and send them away to schools. And, you know, it's a leadership merit-based scholarship. I ended up getting that. And I kid you
Hmm.
not, when they hit me up on some, yo, you got this, right? Like the next thing was like, where's your social security number? I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
and oh, you know, my mom and I, we both
Yes,
like,
yeah.
oh no, like what's happening? And a week later, the supermarket burns down, immigration calls
Wow.
Rosa, and you know, like this whole thing went down. And then I got to college, and it was my first time being in an all-white setting. And that's where
Hmm.
my story of representation, you know, began, and the importance of representation, right? Because I knew I was Dominican. There was no
Hmm.
denying that, but so was everybody else around me. You know,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
was everyone I went to school with, and everyone, you know, like, and the few white folks that I did know growing up, like they were NYC white people, which is a little different from urban, rural, or suburban, rural. Well, I mean, I don't know how to
Definitely, yeah.
describe it other from, you know, when I got to Wheaton, I was like, whoa, like this is real. And like, I didn't see myself anywhere, not in the books I read, not in the, you know, the videos I saw. Like, and then I ended up majoring in sociology. I started doing theater,
Yes.
right? Because that's what I wanted to do. And all of a sudden, theater becomes a super white department where I get typecasted for everything. I take
Hmm.
sociology, learn about racism, learn about inequality, and that sets the
That was
tone
it.
for
Yeah.
pretty much everything else. And since then, I believe if we're going to make big change in society in the 21st century, we need to be focusing on the new forms of media that are emerging. And in this case today, for me and for my passion and my experience, gaming, right, or emerging media for folks who don't know much about gaming, is where it's at. And influencer marketing and influencer creation with, you know, woke influencers, that's the next level, I guess, for me.
Right, yeah. Oh man, that's so interesting. Like everything you said was so spot on because even myself growing up in the Bronx and especially as, female and, we grew up along the poverty line, it was like we didn't have like those programs that you would see on TV sometimes, that could give us that leverage, like when I was in college, I was in high school going to college. I was trying to think of schools that would be good with, because I was interested in gaming. I gamed like for as long as I could remember. And I was trying to think of what degrees are out there at that time. It's like early 2000s, and
Mm,
there really wasn't much, especially in New York City. There wasn't really no the only like if you wanted to go gaming, you just had the local arcades that you would go to, but there was really not
yup.
much just to play. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like talks of, okay, here are careers in gaming. Here's ways that you could educate yourselves in gaming. We didn't have that around us, so it's definitely was like a learning experience and something that now I think a lot of people have to recognize,
Mm-hmm.
especially parents and grandparents. Now they didn't know at the time how big it was going to become an industry, a career
Mm-hmm. No,
industry.
and you bring up a good point, Rosa, because I think we're at a point where even our gamers, even our actual users, right, and the people who are consuming online games and just gaming in general aren't aware about the careers that exist in that industry, that are not related to coding. And this is what I want to kind of wrap our whole conversation around tonight, Rosa. Like
Yeah.
anybody, like, I mean, you could go in and pursue the formal route of game development, right, and learn to code and learn, you know, the graphic elements involved in putting a game together, or the sound elements involved, right, all the technical, those are the technical skills
Yes.
for game design, right, and for the game industry. You can take that route easy, right? Actually, it's not easy, right? It's just the decision to be like, I'm going to do this
It's
is
sort of
great.
laid out, like the curriculum's been set.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
sort of scaffolded down,
Hmm.
as like that was the baseline.
Yeah, and there's tons of programs, like 10 years in teaching, like, and I didn't mention this when we first started, right? Like I've been teaching for over 10 years at the high school setting here in the Bronx. And what happens is that, when you're the person kind of deciding which programs or tech programs come into a school, right, where all these companies are vying for stuff, like it's it's wild just how many companies are coming in that want to teach code.
Wow. Yes. No, I
Like,
feel you. I was getting the same thing when I was teaching in high school because I've been in the system for around the same time you have and worked across different schools in the city. And like there'll be schools that say they teach computer science and
hmm.
computers, but that's it. It's like
Yeah.
nothing advanced, and as we try to think outside the box as content creators as well, me and you, and as as educator when I was in that field in the Department of Education, it was like, why don't we do as Minecraft education? Why don't we get into that?
Mm,
Or why don't
mm.
we get into, learning more about gaming careers? But it was sort of like a wild goose chase. It was a wild talk. Everything was just straight coding,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
even the school, the Department of Education themselves are trying to figure out what coding was. Because trust me, they
Hmm.
still scrambling to figure out what that is.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that, like, I don't want to, mistake the fact that, like, first of all, like, the assumption is a STEM is super important, like, don't get
Yes.
me wrong, like, it is extremely valuable, but it is a niche, like, it is like, in 1 year, I would see or service about maybe 120 young people, right? And one across various grades, right? From 9 through 12. And every year I piloted these new coding programs to see who stuck. Out of a group of 40, Rosa, I kid you not, maybe 20 of them would, like all 40 of them would go to the experience, right? About
Hmm.
20 of them would enjoy it. And only about 5 to 10 of them would actually want to take the next level of that, right? Which means that
Hmm.
you had fun with the playing part of it, right? But then the moment you had to dive into the nitty gritty stuff, like you lose
Yep.
engagement and you lost, and I lost interest. And it's not about because maybe it wasn't taught right, because I'll tell you right now, I've come across enough teachers, because I'm a former special education teacher, right? I'm not a content specialist, right? So I
Same. Yeah.
taught math and history, and a lot of people don't understand that when you're a special education teacher, you're more of an instructional specialist, right? Like fine
Yes.
tuning in the art of diversifying instruction. So you can throw people like us, Rosa, you can throw us any subject. If we
Oh
have the
yeah.
blueprint and the curriculum, like we can teach it, right? And there's a lot of great stuff, but when your students are not interested, it goes out the window,
Hmm.
regardless of the grade level. And it wasn't until I started this group called Mouse Squad, Rosa, that it
Hmm.
really hit me that it's not about the tech careers, more so about the interests and the things that surround those fields, right? So I'm
Hmm.
talking about, if I guess if I could put it into words, it's like the humanities of the gaming industry, right? The people
That's
who
it, right?
are moderating the communities, right? People who are project managers like yourself, right? Like the other
Hmm.
day, I was on a club room call,
Yep.
and it was like all these people in a tech company, and they were like, "Yo, the real people who run gaming companies are the project managers," and I was like,
Yep.
what? And then we got
Hmm.
into this whole debate about how much sway a project manager at a gaming firm has over the actual coder who's doing other stuff. And it's not about one job is important than the other. I
Hmm.
think that our young people and the people whom I serve, from my experience, would be more interested in figuring out what it would be like to be on a project at Rockstar that doesn't
Yeah.
involve gaming but might involve scavenging social media for cool articles, or like things that are on the back end that nobody really focuses on, and those jobs are going to blow up.
Hmm.
Like they're going to blow up, because as gaming and as the industry grows, and the online, and where Epic is taking the industry with socializing and monetizing all of this online gaming stuff, like these back end positions are stuff that nobody's really looking at, because as a country, right, as a nation in a global market, like we're trying to get our numbers up around how many coders and how many techies and how many scientists we can put on the map. And quite frankly, those scientists and those techies and those coders, they all need back end support,
Yep.
and that's where BGN comes in.
Yeah, definitely. That's so true. I always think like you were saying, like the focus on other areas, other specialties in gaming are so important because all those pieces come together, to make it work out. And our young people are just so exposed, like especially in the Bronx, like our cultures are around music, they're around socializing,
Mm-hmm.
or any type of artistic expression is just in the culture of the Bronx. So how we could bring that Bronx cultural expression into the gaming industry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Like it gives me chills. Like one of the coolest examples that we have going on now, Rose, is that we had a former friend of mine. He used to be a geometry teacher, high school level, because that's what he got his degree in. But his
Mm-hmm.
whole life was about theater, and he used to do theater tech design, and he was a good sculptor and all this stuff. And when I started doing BGN, I was streaming on Twitch, and one day I heard about this game Dreams, right? I don't know if you've heard of
Right,
it,
yeah.
PS4
Mm-hmm.
Dreams. And like, I was like, oh my God. And we were using it to have our young people develop representative narratives and worlds, right?
Wow, yeah.
So that they can, they can find themselves in those things. And Steve saw it. My friend saw it. He goes, what? And then he started playing it 2-3 months down the line, and he's getting really good at it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
really, really, like I'm telling you, like really good. 5 months later, today, right? He is now leading a team of international dreams designers to do what's called Dreams Fest. And I'll send you the link and we can share it, post
Nice.
production. But the idea is that it's for musicians who record music and pair up with game or world designers in dreams
Mm-hmm.
to create an actual like Coachella, like, or
Wow, yeah.
like, and so then he developed a team of folks who crafted and built different parts of the world, like in continents, right? And they're theming all of this music, and the company reaches out to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Media Molecule reaches out. He goes, what
Wow.
is this? Next thing you know, he's now on a potential career pathway into an industry that he had no idea could have been, like in his cards. But the
Yeah.
fact is of the matter is that, look, it doesn't matter whether you're 4 years old or gaming, or you have a full background in teaching or whatever it is. Like, there are entry points into this industry
Mm-hmm.
that are just not being seen. And if you're an educator, if you're a teacher and you game, you need to come see me, because right now
Exactly.
that little intersection is gonna blow up big. And I'm here to support. you know
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's where it's at, especially if schools want to find ways to enhance, child's like education further, even
Mhm.
beyond college, just think outside the box. Just the gaming creativeness is where it's at.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I wanted to go into a little bit about the influencer marketing. Also, like you want to talk about content creation and just how those lead into future jobs in the industry.
Yeah. Um, uh, we Let's start with this idea of influencer marketing, right? Because I learned a lot about it. 6 months ago, I signed up for this incubator. It's called Communitas America, based here in the Bronx. They're freaking phenomenal.
Right, yes,
Um,
I heard of them. I had a few friends that were doing it last year during the whole pandemic. So just shout
yeah,
outs to
like
them for,
they
advance,
did the
being
thing.
innovative.
They did the thing, and like pretty much like Communitas helped me clear out what BGN is, right? Like at first I thought,
Right.
honestly, it went from it was going to be a talent agency to it was me on Twitch, and we're going to get a bunch of content creators to create cool stuff, to I get into this accelerator and realize what BGN can be as a company and as an institution, and realize that we can be so much more. And for me, it started with the idea of content consumption, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
content creation over content consumption, right?
Right.
And it
Mm-hmm.
happened one day. We were in chat, and I told people, I was like, you know what? No content consumption without representation. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Like when I go out and search, and it's a mindset, which is kind of what BGN is built on. Like when I go
Mm-hmm.
out to learn how to like get more followers on YouTube, before I click on the top ones, I'm gonna make a conscious effort to see what my other fellow brothers and sisters are doing,
Right.
because they could use that view and that subscribe more than the
Mm-hmm.
folks that are getting it. And let's not forget, like, I'm a radical, Rose, and I'll call racism wherever and whenever, like on some
Mm-hmm.
Shakira, wherever, whenever
Yep.
I see it, like, and the
Right.
thing is, algorithms for companies like YouTube, right, or for Google, who owns all of that, right?
Yep.
Like they're designed at the end of the day by white men,
Yep.
and I could be, quoting or whatever, there may be, it's obviously a team of folks, but the majority of those people are very homogenous, very look the same. And I don't know if y'all knew this, but like if you already have biases in your coding, those biases find their way into that code, especially when it's artificial intelligence, right? So these algorithms are all wacky, and unless we flood the algorithms with content creators that are actually getting numbers, those algorithms won't change. And that is where this idea of, I started streaming, I think in April of we're in 2021 of 29. The COVID has completely messed up my sense
I think
of
all
time.
of us.
Oh my God.
It was like COVID was the longest day ever. That's it.
Yeah, for real. I started streaming in like April of 2019. And then within 3 weeks, I became affiliate, started monetizing it.
Right.
And I was like, hold up. I didn't even really do that much. I really didn't even do that much. And then I started hearing, as I was streaming, I started asking folks like, who else wants to do this? And so many people want to stream, and they want
so many young people too, because that's what they're watching.
Yeah. And what's interesting though, I did some background research, and it's not even about streaming for the gameplay. It's about being seen. As a human being, it's about being seen. And there was this article that I had read to this day, I think shapes all of the work that I do. It was this idea of, the title of the article was something along the lines of, the impact of streaming to zero viewers, right? And it was like a socio-psychological study about what it means to stream for over a year and not have any viewers, and why you keep doing that, and what the need and the inner wants are. And it turns out that it's at the core of who we are. It is the 21st century. It is 2021. People want to be seen. People want those likes. However, without training, you end up doing toxic things and really messed up things in search of those, right? So why not teach people how to safely become influencers, right? And not just that, but safely be able to create content that represents them in their communities, and whatever they do with those skills is on them. But so long as you're streaming and you're represented by BGN, our mission is about community philanthropy, community growth. And so long as you're getting viewership and engagement from our network, we're going to be molding content creators and influencers who are in some way, shape, or form hyper local, meant to give back to the businesses that are here. And I don't know if you have any questions or if that was long-winded, but I do have a few more points that I think are important to mention about that.
Oh no, that's all great. That's amazing. I think it really hits spot on like just shifting that whole visual narrative and just the way young people, especially in the Bronx, how they see that whole creation process. Instead of just consuming it, like you said, we're not just going to consume it. It's not a TV. We're also going to be part of that. We're going to be part of that community, because now Twitch communities is such a big thing, and something that if you're an influencer, you want to get in that market, you want to get in that platform as well. And that's something I'm learning within my own network, doing social mixers, and they started on the ground, and since shifting with the pandemic, it's been, okay, how can I take this digitally? And while Instagram's been good, Zoom is now another good feature. Facebook is now seeing Twitch, which especially as a gamer and just as a creative in general, like how can we build those communities, especially the toxic part, like you said, like how to break away from that, how to build and just enlighten, young people into this.
Absolutely. And I think, you bring a good point up, right? Like it's, for me, at its core, it's community before competition, community before growth, right? And the way I see it is that, and I'll show you in the show and tell a little later if we have a chance, right? The way I see it is that the journey of a gamer begins, like I told you, at a young age, and today, some of our parents, a lot of parents are gamers themselves, right? And they just, even them, they don't have ways in which to incorporate their gamer lifestyle into the lifestyle of their kids, whether it's because they're not playing the same games or they're not sure. Like nobody is really focusing on the well-being or the interests of parent gamers, right? Who want to kind of have a better relationship with their kids but don't know how and want to use that medium, right? And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, like, quite frankly, like, if you're a parent gamer, let's say, and you want to go do your run at Call of Duty, right, or whatever game it is you're playing while your kid plays their game, one of the programs that we're developing right now is our gamer sitter program, right? Like, it's the
Mm-hmm.
idea of how do we hire train high schoolers that are juniors and seniors, right? And early college age people. Doesn't mean you have to be in college, right? So people ages 17 to
Right.
like about
Mm-hmm.
25 who want to get paid $15 to $20 an hour to sit down and play with some young gamers and make sure they're not killing themselves, or
Mm-hmm.
or like being bullies to each other. And we're not
Yes.
talking about high-end social emotional stuff, Rosa, here, right? Like, what was
Mm-hmm.
the role of the original babysitter? You make sure that that kid, just
Lives, right. And
doesn't.
they're fed. They're fed. They survive. They're
Yeah,
asleep.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. And those earlier levels, those Maslow's needs, right? Like, and
Yeah.
you know what, Rosa, talking about that, me and you should talk about what that looks like a Maslow's pyramid of gamer needs. Because that in and of
Yeah.
itself sounds
Right.
like an interesting study, because
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a
For
lot that needs
sure.
to be done, right? Like, think about it. Like, one of the case studies for my company is this little young one. He's about 4 years old. I'm best friends with his mother, and his mother, she's in her late 20s, and she was telling me the story about how her son was playing what he calls Among Us, right? Because he doesn't even know what the game is. He just, mommy, Among Us, Among Us. I was like, okay. And so he's been playing Among Us, right?
Yeah.
And he's been doing this thing, but apparently, at one point, like, he had switched over to Roblox, and some person was asking him really weird questions that, like, and the mom didn't know until the little boy came to her and was like, mommy, what's our address? She's like,
Oh, right.
why?
Oh my God.
Why?
Yeah.
And then she goes, and because she never once took a second to see what Roblox was or what
Mm-hmm.
Among Us was, like, she did not, like, she freaked out. And when I brought up the idea of, care, right, or child care in a virtual space,
Yeah.
she dead ass, Rosa, she was like, where, when,
Yep.
how, and because of who I am and the work that I do, like, I don't like just launching it randomly, right? Because enough people do that. Like, I
Yeah.
really want to make sure that we develop a program that is really quality, right? That also creates jobs for gamers
Mm-hmm.
who don't want to code, right? But need that extra little income
Yep.
at a living wage on top of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? And then it also gives young people a chance to, at an early age, feel like they are gaming not alone, and from there, by the time those little kids that are in the gamer sitter program reach high school, they're streaming, they're leading communities,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing a lot of different things because they've been plugged in at a very early age in a healthy and relevant way that is appropriate for them.
Yeah, that's so important. I mean, I have two little ones myself, ages 6 and 4, and they're just learning about Among Us, and now they're crazy with Minecraft because they didn't know about Minecraft until this whole remote learning, and then the schools gave them tablets, and on there was Minecraft. So I was like, okay, I'll let them check it out, and forget it. It was like once they found out what Minecraft was, it's nonstop. So it's like trying to figure out how can I educate them about Minecraft and see the
Mhm.
realities of it, how it's all like these things you're making here, they're also out there in real life and vice versa in a way. So it's like I get the point of the parents. Like sometimes it's like you're so busy doing your own thing, work,
Mhm.
doing your
Mhm.
own entrepreneur, whatever it may be you have to do as an adult. And your kids will be watching it, someone playing a game on YouTube and they're playing the game that they want to learn, like Minecraft or
Mhm.
Among Us. And it's all of, just that connection, you know. And it goes back to like when we talked about wanting to do parent workshops and having to do parent one-on-one workshops. Me and you've talked about this numerous times as
Mhm.
like how to educate parents in modern age gaming and like how to be socially emotionally supportive with that idea. I think I totally understand that background as well.
No, like, it's real, and it's a relatively new area too. It's an area that's being explored, which is what essentially BGN, is trying to do, in our community that we have now is trying to do. And who knows where we go, but what I do know, right, is that in doing so, every person that we've officially taught how to stream, right, has found a way to, one, monetize their content in a way that
Hmm.
is unique to them, but they're also breaking in with a community that already has been raised and cultivated with this mindset of, yo, we love each other, we raise each other, and we show up for each other. And that
Mm-hmm.
means more than everything, because what's great about it is that, I mean, for me, the dream is, this is the dream, right? And I usually use actual life experiences from students that I've worked with, right? Like I have a young
Yeah.
woman who, her mom is a seamstress, and she's been, sewing clothes for ages, and her mom was doing that. Like it's a generational thing, right? And
Yeah.
she knows how to do this and she knows how to do it well. And she had found out about our fashion programs at DreamYard and joined, and she explored, social justice through fashion and did all of this,
Mm-hmm.
which is great, right? And amazing. And then, but she was also a gamer and she liked playing and she started doing all this stuff, right? But then I stopped teaching, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
was, that our life stories didn't happen at the times where, it should have happened, but that story happened and it inspired me to be like, yo, what happens in a place where a young person, right, who grows up in a family of entrepreneurs, who then takes their content online, regardless of what it is, grows viewership, is able to bring sponsorship, and then provide advertisement for their own family businesses, in a
Mm-hmm.
way that you can't quite get, because now you're not just advertising in the Bronx.
Right.
Twitch is international.
Yes.
That is global. And no matter how much money you spend on Facebook ads or Instagram ads, like
Mm-hmm.
the type of connection you get from a small time streamer who has 10 to 12 viewers is more impactful than any one big, content creator for a small company, and research says that, these are called nano influencers, by the way, Rosa, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this is the place that people need to learn a little more about, especially people in our community. Like you can actually get sponsorships if you're holding 10 to 12 viewers every time you go live.
Mm.
Why? And right. And people are like, well, why? Like, I need thousands, because what does the media tell you? That you need thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
subscribers and that you need all of this stuff, which partially is true, because the more of that you have, the more money you make, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is, when I subscribe to someone with thousands and thousands of followers and subscribers, there's a small chance, a very small chance, that if I'm the company that signed up to advertise with this person, that somebody's going to come and click on my stuff, because
Mm-hmm.
millions of people are looking at your stuff, So
Yep.
my company is just nothing, especially if I could only afford $500 for this person to name drop me. Now flip that, Rosa. What happens if we had 20 streamers in different parts of the Bronx, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this could happen in New York City, right? 20 in the Bronx, 20 in Queens, and all of a sudden, all of these streamers have anywhere between 10 to 12 viewers, and they're all organic because it's their
Yep.
friends and their families, right? And then I turn to a local business and say, hey, like for this amount, right, we will advertise your stuff across this whole local network for people to not just come by at your doorstep, right? Like for those who live nearby, but for
Mm-hmm.
people who are now in the world, who might even open up more revenue in a way that your company has never ever seen, And that right there is what we're going to build around. So we're going to use that model to build content creators in our Content Creator Academy, who are then going to do grassroots advertisement, Rosa. We're like a
Awesome.
we're like a little what is it, TV stations before like a
Yeah.
new age like studio,
No,
and that's
that's
what it really boils
awesome.
down to.
Yeah, I definitely love the idea. It sort of reminds me of when I went to a couple of years ago, I went to a Grow with Google workshop and they talked about search engine optimizations and things like that. And it mentioned like how brick and mortar businesses, especially small time businesses, they're unaware about the impact that this could be. How they, if
Mm-hmm.
they're on here, if they're able to understand how to use this algorithm, how much reach they can get. So you're doing that in such a grassroots, amazing effort. And I think it would really spread and just bring sort of that connectiveness, that creativity and connectiveness
Mm-hmm.
in that's in our culture already.
Yeah, and you bring up Grow with Google, like with DreamYard, we've been trying, we had worked with them about 5 summers ago, where we trained a group of like 6 young people how to register businesses online, like the GYBO program, it's
Mm-hmm.
Google's like Get Your Business Online. And
Right.
essentially we went down Fordham, right? Like we went down Burnside, we
Yup.
went down, like And we
I
were
hear you.
like, yo, like we Googled it, like, what's up? Your business is not here. And
That's
we
what's
taught the
up.
kids how to give the pitch, and like they were helping these businesses do their stuff. Like we had a little team of, like not everyone wanted to do the back end stuff. Some people just wanted to be there for the hype, right? Like they wanted to
Uh-huh.
be the photographers, right? And we would go to these new businesses and some of these kids would be there taking the pictures that then we would upload. And the best part of it was when the kids got to present to the businesses what their
Nice.
digital image looked like. And they were
Wow.
blown away, right? But it was
Hmm.
not sustainable because businesses don't trust young people to do this for them,
Right.
right? and
Yeah.
and along the way there were tons of people who our kids ran into that were web designers, that were
Wow.
social media experts, that like they were legit competing with the service that my young people were offering.
Yeah.
And like I was like, wow. And this was like 5 years ago, and today I'm
Yeah.
like, oh man, I feel that those experiences all crept their way into what BGN is, or
Hmm.
what is growing into. And I think that it is the perfect marriage between the profitable side of gaming, including all that esports and advertising, and because that's a cash cow in and of itself,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
But then it includes that nonprofit side, that community piece that's like, okay, so BGN, it's very important for us to play a very, crucial role in that we have to be careful that not too much money comes in too fast, because with that
Hmm.
comes predators, right? And
Yeah.
comes, like what happens in this particular day and age. And I think that it's important work to be done.
Yeah, it's great. I love how you talk about BGN. I think we're at the halfway point, so let's just get into like you
Yeah.
telling us more about the Bronx Gaming Network. So let me see if I could add you as a host here, and you'll be able to share that. All right, you should be able to do it now.
Yeah. Let's, can you see this, Rosa?
Yep, something's coming up. Yep,
Let
I
me
see
know.
it.
Okay, and I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. I really just wanted to show y'all a little bit about the structure of BGN. Remember how I myself, I'm not like a pro gamer, y'all, right? Like, and I never ever claimed to be. I started Twitch streaming with Mario 3, y'all. It's just there's magic that happens in online gaming communities that I feel is not being seen and acknowledged by educators and people who do youth development. And it is being acknowledged and seen in certain ways, but not in the ways that I think is relevant to our young people. So what I'm going to
Hmm.
show y'all today is essentially a few slides that I used for Communitas, right? And this is a slide that I use as an entrepreneur to go out and find funding. And I'm very real and transparent with the stuff, y'all. Like, this is the type of stuff, like when my content goes up and you start seeing it on YouTube, like I'm gonna tell you the back end how it is, right? And this
Hmm.
is what you're looking at, the heart of where we're going with gaming, with influencer making, right? With content creation and building this community in the Bronx. We start with the fact that 3 out of 4 Americans play video games, period.
Yep.
Like really think about that, right? Like that's millions of people. And that's across different platforms and consoles, like where they play, that's a whole nother data set that we don't have to get into now. Now, check this out, right? And this is what, if you're a gamer and you're watching this, right, you're like, oh my God, I already know gaming is awesome. Like, I
Hmm.
know gaming is awesome, but the people who I roll with, who got the bucks and the coins in their pockets, like they
Yep.
don't understand that. So you got to give it to them in a way that makes sense, right? And when I
Yep.
showed them what happened in the gaming industry, right, when COVID hit, right, like it had an inverse
Hmm.
effect. And when COVID hit, every damn industry tanked, right? Or not tanked, but like a lot happened. But everything tied to gaming actually went all the way up because we were in quarantine and people found themselves, like you were saying earlier, Rosa, online. And the point of the
Hmm.
matter is, y'all, gaming ain't going away. By
Nope.
2027, y'all, it's going to be $256.9 billion, which is a lot. So here's the thing, and this is where we came up with the idea of what we're going to focus on, right? Like these are
Hmm.
4 different industries that all tie into gaming. You have live streaming, right? Everything that has to do from Twitch to
Hmm.
Facebook to, YouTube. Like, remember, it's not just Twitch. I picked Twitch because it was the easiest and the quickest way to learn. And then from
Hmm.
there, you decide where you want to take that, right? That alone brings in 50.11 a year, or in 2020. Then you have influencer marketing, which are all the influencers, the people who you see on your Instagram feeds, right? On your,
Hmm.
on your timelines, all that stuff. Like that industry itself makes $9.7 billion. And I'm not talking about the people who are influencers, right? I'm talking about the industry as a whole. And then finally, esports. Okay. I got a lot of trash from people about, well, why aren't you focusing on esports? There's a
Yeah.
reason. Okay. There's a reason, because everybody and their mother wants it. Think back to, like, you know, when that song that's played out is played out, like everybody's like, yeah, esports is growing, it's coming. I know where it's going, right? And I see where it's going. You know, sports has already happened, y'all, right? Sports as a thing has happened. Esports is just an evolution of something that already exists. And if we keep going down the path that we're going, we're going to replicate the same toxicity that exists in traditional sports. So I chose to invest our time in developing safer, you know, more forward-facing communities that can help the esports industry thrive, and be more diverse in the future.
For sure.
Now, I don't know if you needed extra, you know, sense for this, but Twitch is extremely white and it's extremely male, right? Their own numbers say it, and they're also very secretive about the data that they release about diversity, because it's international and people don't identify the same way around the world. But you know, after enough research, you come down and you find, you know, the data points, and you're like, oh, surprise. And then finally, for everyone who is, and it's not to say that there aren't people of color, right, that aren't doing this, or there aren't women streamers or LGBT streamers. It's just, they're not popular. They're not getting the viewership because the algorithm is not picking up, or they don't know how to create content that, you know, works for them, or that can help them build that community. So what ends up happening? You go to YouTube and you type in, how do I become a streamer? Oh, how do I get, you know, what's
YouTube
the best
Academy.
camera? Yeah, like what's the best academy? Like, or what's the best, you know, camera for this? Or, you know, do I need a capture card? And when you start Googling, you're gonna see the same people over and over and over. And we don't see ourselves, and that kind of sucks. And when I started seeing other Latinos, right? And when I started seeing other gay folk, and when I started seeing other Black and brown folk kind of talking about how to survive in this game, I felt a little better because I felt seen. And that hit
It's
me.
interesting
And
you
then,
say that, because I think it was you that you put up an article about I think the New York Times was highlighting, because like you said, with the whole pandemic in 2020, there was a lot of people on Twitch. And I think the New York Times, you know, but they put out an article about highlighting some popular streamers, or just streamers in general, but a lot of them were not from our culture. They were not from our backgrounds. And I'm like, this is not really representing everybody. So
yeah,
right
but
there
you know,
alone.
yup. You know what the T is, though? That all these other ones that are being celebrated are taking our dances, taking our
Yeah.
music, taking all that stuff, and still making it, you know, that big. And there's a whole TikTok trend about it
Oh
going on
yeah.
right now, you know, like, and that, yo, Wusa, that pisses me off so much, Rosa. And like, and
Yeah.
honestly, like I watch a lot of anime, you know this about me.
Yep.
And you know those faces in anime when the fire lights up of rage in the eyes and they zoom in
Oh yeah.
because you know someone of you know of like that's how I feel when I think and I see that, yo. And then to put the icing on the cake, right? There was this whole situation that happened with Ninja where, you know, he was being interviewed and he was like, yo, it is not my job to be telling little white boys, you know, not to use the N-word, right? And listen, I'm a professional, I'm a grown-ass man. And what happens is that I get that it's not your job, right? Because it's not you, that's not what you signed up for, right? But there is a responsibility that he is not seeing because of the privilege, right? As opposed to, you know, like you're coming in as a person of color trying to be aware of the fact, yo, this is why you can't be saying that, you know. And it's just, if they're not gonna do it and the media's not gonna do it, you know what, Rosa, I'm gonna do it. And if I'm gonna do it,
That's
I'm gonna do
right.
it right.
No, that's right.
Like,
Yeah.
and this is what our problem was. After all this research, 6 months of kind of really figuring out and asking all of our streamers and our gamers, this is what we realize is really at the core, right? We are unaware of all of the potentials of careers. Like there's so many careers in this industry that I can't even begin to list them. And then because we don't have the access, right, to opportunities that teach us how to, like, you know, leverage that and break into that, like what you were saying earlier, growing up, right? Other than the little arcade down the street, like you didn't really know like where or what to do. And I think that this industry you saw is so big that if we don't start giving that access and opportunity now, man, like it's just going to be a bunch of bigger, you know, like companies owning the entities and the likenesses of all these people, because at the end of the day, that's really what happens. So this is what BGN does. We create safe and inclusive communities starting at an early age, like what I was telling you, gamer sitters, right? Gaming sessions, like think play dates, all the things that parents do with young kids, you know, in real life. We do that both online, and when things open up again, we're going to start doing it in person as well, all around the concept of gaming and online gaming, right? So we also then train influencers to raise awareness, right? Like we're gonna find we're gonna train, you know, some of our young folks to, you know, as early as like 16 years old in high school around social justice, and we're gonna give them a platform, and we're gonna teach them how to use that platform for, you know, awareness for our community, and then we're gonna bring them coins right back home. You know, like we're gonna really, once we start getting those sponsorships, right, and once, you know, bigger companies start coming in and realizing, especially all those companies that are trying to move into the South Bronx, unfortunately, right, like they're all gonna have to come through, and you already know how the Bronx does with taking people in who are trying to do our stuff, right? Like what happens when you have a wall of content creators who are, you know, like public and out there with, you know, how our community is run? Like that's powerful. And all that money comes back to the businesses in the form of, you know, new business, right? Or new advertisement, new exposure, brand awareness. And more importantly, our young people are getting seen, right? And at the last thing is just matching our people to paid jobs. So if you are a gamer sitter, I want to be able to match you to other paid jobs, right? If you are a virtual artist and you haven't been getting commissions, let me put you in touch with some streamers who need some emotes and some panels, right? If you're a musician, let me put you in touch with a few content creators who could really use some, you know, copyright-free music. Yeah, like, and it's legit the namesake, right? In the namesake, which at the end of the day, it could have been a lot of things, but we went with the network because it is essentially what we are. And I'm going to end it here with this slide, because I think this one really, really speaks to what it is that's happening, right? So on the right, Rosa, you have careers that exist on the books. Like think about your mainstream careers in gaming, right? So you have your testers, your quality assurance. These are the professional names for these businesses, right? Your business managers, you have your social media influencers, your artists, your developers, all of it. And then on the left are things that we've done at BGN that we've been able to fund through DreamYard programs, right? So that DreamYard, you know, helped us, you know, fundraise to pay people to do these programs, right? One of the coolest is the games journalist, right? The games journalist is something that we were able to do through a group of gaming journalists, right? That right from the Times to IGN to Kotaku, who have been working with our young people for 5 years and learning how to keep the industry accountable, right? The whole thing is train Black and brown writers, right? So that way when stuff goes down, right, like they're able to report on it in a way that is representative. And they've been getting paid to publish, right? We have right now, we are in the middle of building a Minecraft server for the Bronx that's going to be for young people. And I'll show you the video before we drop off. But the idea is that in order to build that, we needed a server administrator and we needed a server architect, right? And that came right from within BGN, people who had been playing Minecraft for ages, who were really, really good at this, but never, ever once in their life have they ever been told, yo, you want to get paid to do this?
Like, exactly.
And, you know, and the part of me, and you know what's really messed up, Rosa, that I'm here to kind of build this business around is that a lot of our folks don't even see how much they're worth in doing that. Right? It's like, you know, like you go, and then when I was figuring out how to pay these, you know, these folks and what to pay them, you know, like I was like, yeah, we're gonna pay you this, but she goes, what? You know, and I had to like, yo, what? And I'm like, yeah, like you're gonna get paid to do this, right? And in doing so, you're gonna have to learn how to read emails and check those emails and be on a timeline, and all these other transferable skills just start funneling around. And then by the time you have 2 years doing this, you could work at Minecraft. You could work at Microsoft. You could work at any company that uses Minecraft as a medium for business, right? To make this work. And then what happens is that we had another young person who's a pro at building Discord servers, has built over 500 of them for free. One day I pull up and I was like, yo, I'm going to give you $75. Can you, you know, make a BGN server? He was like, what? no, I'm not charging you. I was like, no, you're taking $75,
Yep.
like, because it's what I got right now, right? But this idea of, yo, but I've
Knowing
never
their
done
worth.
this. Yeah, like, and that was wild for me, Rosa, right? And then
Yeah.
the coolest part of it is that all these jobs that you see here on the left, from a
Mm-hmm.
streamer, right, down to a community moderator who's just deleting posts that are
Yep.
inappropriate, right, like responding to stuff, all of those translate to one of these jobs on the right. You know, like
Yes, they
eventually
do.
they
Mm-hmm.
all lead to these careers. And this right here is just a small, tiny little sample of all of the different things that can happen that I feel, you know, our people are ready for. But
Yes.
it's such a long-term project, because like I showed you, my friend Steve is already a professional, has how many master's degrees, right, has been teaching, and all of a sudden is finding a shift at a comparable
Mm-hmm.
salary into an industry he would have never thought, right? But
Mm-hmm.
somebody needs to do the work around helping navigate, you know, those different entry points
Yeah.
into the industry, because it's not all just coding, and it's not all just, you know, that.
Yeah. It's not very visible. And like you said, they give you like those tech kind of like the coding, like you always stress the coding and the other areas. It's like finding that way to like tell the people in your network, especially the young people in your network, to be
Mm-hmm.
aware and be mindful that you've been doing these skills all along. Is how do you take it into a professional level and expand it there and grow?
Yeah, and no, like that's real talk, Rosa. And I think that I want to be able to, and feel free to share this, you know, like as need be, or like the website. But the idea is
Hmm.
that I think the only way for us to really, or not the only way, one of the ways in which I found for us to move forward is particularly around developing these three programs here, right? Gamer
Hmm.
sitters,
Right.
content creators, and woke gamers, period.
Hmm.
You know, like if we can develop a set of gamer sitters, right? So a group of people who are watching our young ones and making sure that they are safe, right? And creating those community, right? And then
Hmm.
while those ones are growing up with each other and jumping into parties together, because gamer sitters talk to each other, right? And building those
Hmm.
communities, by the time they get to middle school, they're going to be learning how to be a little bit more responsible around developing a gamer identity, right? That's the woke gamer series, right? Like, what does it mean to talk about toxicity? What is gamer identity? So that by the time you get to high school, girl, you're
Hmm.
creating content and you are on Twitch. It doesn't mean that you can't be, you know, chatting on Twitch and being involved with Twitch. But if
Right.
you're coming in through BGN, there is a pathway. And that pathway begins with playing
Yeah,
and hanging
that's
out
it.
with friends, you
Hmm.
know, and then knowing what's acceptable, what's not, and then kind of from there shouting your message and your stuff to the world. And I leave you here with this slide, Rosa, because a lot of times this is what people ask me: oh my god, how do I get involved? What do
Hmm.
I do? You know, like how? And the
Yes.
truth is, there are tons of different ways to get involved, and it's not all just money. Sometimes people don't want to do the most, and they'll be like, yo, here's $15, like put it to good use. And that's cool. BGM, we're cool with that, right? And if you don't want to do a financial contribution and you want to put in time and you want to do work, you hit me up
Hmm.
immediately right now, because there's tons of projects and I'm only
You
one
heard them.
person at a
Get on it.
full-time job, right? On a full-time job, you know, day job, also trying to build this community. And a lot of folks, you know, want to get involved. And if you've got time and you have, most importantly, I'm going to be real with you, experience around managing projects, right? Or managing events, right? These are the types of things that I need now. And
Hmm.
I'm working hard to get us the funding to make sure that we get the appropriate full-time. I want to hire people on full-time yearly salaries. That's the goal. But for
Yes.
now, we're working on an hourly rate, and everybody's pathway is important. So if you got some experience in your belt working for companies, or if you actually, better yet, if you are a college age student and you want an internship, we are a formal LLC, right? We are on LinkedIn. If you want to come work with us, we've worked with other college interns in the past who ran our social media stuff, and they're able to, you know, put it on their resumes. Like if you want experience to put on your resume with a gaming company, like please hit me up, because there's a bunch of really cool stuff that we could be working on. However, like I said, only one person, right? And we have a lot of viewers and a lot of people who want to stream and play, but we need doers, and we need
Hmm.
people who are behind the scenes, not the coders and not the game
Yep.
players, right? The people who want to be the hype folk. Let's plan a
Yes.
party. You like planning parties? Hit me up. You want to plan an event? Hit me up. Let's talk, because we have a beautiful space here in the Bronx that we want to put to work over the next 6 months, y'all. Real talk.
Yeah, it's amazing stuff. Oh, I love it. And, there's the information there. If you want to hit them up, I also have it in the description once this video goes up as well. So the last two questions I always ask my guests is, of course, the first would be, of course, the ACG social mixer is a network and a social mixer of ways we could connect and collaborate all anime, comic, gaming, even cosplay creatives from local communities together. So you, especially being the Bronx Gaming Network, I want to know, how do you envision, or you're already doing it? How do you network with the Bronx Gaming Network? Where do you see it going?
Oof. My motto: network to get work.
I love it.
Somebody once told
Without a
me in high
shirt and a hat.
school. Somebody once told me in high school, a mentor of mine, that he goes, Rudy, you know what? You got to network to get work. And since then, my entire life has been about that. And don't get it twisted. There's good and bad to being an excessive networker, right? Yeah. The bad part of it is that too many connections, and it's like chasing 5 rabbits. You're not going to catch any, but at the end of the day, the way we do it, Rosa's real talk, is people meet people, and like-minded people meet like-minded people. The last 6 months have been through Twitch. No lie. Like, just going crazy trying to find Bronx
the
streamers.
Platform's there, it's a great start foundation.
And then that turned to Discord, and then people started bringing other people in, and it's all been online, but now we're shifting. And we're going IRL, right? I just got approval to have our first in-person event, the first of many in-person events for 20 people at a time, which is so exciting. Nice. We're gonna start with, and I will release more of this information as the time comes. We're gonna start with some FGC stuff, Guilty Gear and Super Smash Brothers. There's going to be a little tournament coming up that's going to be monthly. And then we're going to start doing, we're doing our first BGN gathering, which nice. I will send you an invitation to, Rosa. It is the first one, so we're limited on invitations. I'll send you, once you can pull up, meet some of the folks, and then we're going to have these on a monthly basis. Awesome. And we're turning our networking IRL, and we want to show off our awesome gaming space. And Rosa, if you want to collaborate, this is another example of how I network, right? Like, let's get a social mixer happening at BGN, Rosa.
Yeah,
if you could do it, if you want to do it before August 16th, we can do that, because I'm taking 2 weeks, at the end of August, at the end of the summer. But other than that, after September,
for sure, because before pandemic, we were supposed to do it. Everything just crashed and burned in the world, and now everything is coming up anew.
Yeah, and then and for safety's sakes, for folks, so folks are aware, like, I do work with DreamYard Project. We are a formal nonprofit, which means safety precautions are super important for us. Like, we have and follow protocols that the city and the state have been put out. All of our events are highly, like, social distance friendly. Our floor plans, we have designers who have been helping us figure out what the most safest, or what the safest layout for the space is. And we can hold 20 to 25 people, which means that, keep an eye out. If you haven't already done so, sign up for the BGN email list, so that way you can get information as it rolls out. But Rosa, definitely reach out, and let's plan a mixer.
Yes, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Yes, you bring some amazing vibes, and of course, 2 Bronxites here. Nothing can go wrong there. So we got it. So Rudy, it's been amazing. And of course, hearing more about the Bronx Gaming Network and following it since day one. And I'd love to see where it goes. And of course, collaborating with you in this amazing project.
Thank you.
So where can people find you?
People can find me at thebronxgamingnetwork.com.
There you go.
I have tons of different social media, there's a lot of different channels. I'm also working on streamlining, because this is something as an entrepreneur I'm learning now, right? Like, there's your personal brand and the business brand, and bringing them together and separating stuff. It's all over the place. But if you go to thebronxgamingnetwork.com, you can sign up for our email list there. It is still in early phases our website, right? We're putting a bunch of the things together. So if you sign up for the email list, you will be one of the first people that will know when our programs launch, which we are set to launch for this fall in September. Our Gamer Sitter program and our Content Creators Academy will go live then, and we'll let you know more about it. You'll be one of the first people to know, Rosa. You'll be the first person to get the call.
Looking forward to it. Yes. Thank you so much, Rudy. It's been
No
a
doubt. Thank
pleasure.
you. Have a good night, and thanks for having me.
Yes.